You know, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. It's something we do every day without a second thought. But what if you could do that with your own mind? The idea of mind uploading, it sounds like the ultimate sci-fi dream, right? A shot at digital immortality. But here's the thing. As we're about to find out, this promise might actually be a terrifying philosophical truth.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate backup. So let's start with the big question. Why would anyone even want to do this? Well, the motivation is actually pretty simple. It's baked right into the hardware we're all running on, our own biology.
Let's just be blunt about it. Your brain is made of meat. I mean, think about it. That incredible organ, the thing that holds every single one of your memories, your hopes, your fears, your entire personality, it's running on this squishy, fragile, biodegradable hardware. It gets old, it can break down, and one day it just stops. It's kind of like we've all got this built-in expiration date. So what if we could back it up? Just like a hard drive. What if we could take the very essence of you, all of that data, everything that makes you you, and just move it, transfer it to a much more durable home, like a machine? I mean, just think about it. No more getting sick, no more getting old. Just you, forever, in the cloud. Sounds pretty amazing, doesn't it? Like the ultimate life hack.
But yeah, there's always a but, isn't there? This is where things get really, really messy, because there's this quote that just hangs over the entire idea. Uploading might actually just be a fancy word for suicide. Suddenly, this isn't just a tech problem. It's a profound, deeply unsettling paradox that makes us question everything. Are you saving yourself, or are you killing yourself?
Okay, so before we dive headfirst into that existential crisis, let's talk about the tech. Section 2, the soul's file size. Just how big of a challenge are we talking about here? I mean, what does it actually take to copy a mind? Well, the numbers, they're just staggering.
So let's start with the basics. Neurons. Your brain, right now, has about 86 billion of them. That is a huge number. For perspective, that's more stars than are in a lot of galaxies. Just mapping that is an insane task. But here's the crazy part. That's the easy bit. Because what really matters, what makes you you, isn't just the neurons themselves. It's how they're all connected. And you've got somewhere around 100 trillion of those connections, these synapses. 100 trillion? And each one is firing away, creating this constant, chaotic, beautiful storm of information. The complexity is just, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. So if you were to try and turn all that into data, what would the file size be? Well, the current best guess is around 2.5 petabytes. 2.5 petabytes. I mean, what even is that? To put it into perspective, that's like trying to download about 3 million hours of video for one person. It's a colossal amount of data. And this entire map, this complete wiring diagram of your brain, has a name, the Connectome. And that's the real prize. To do this right, you can't just scan the brain's shape or count the cells. No, you have to map the state and the strength of every single one of those 100 trillion connections. It's not a picture, it's a living, dynamic system.
All right, Section 3, getting the data out. Let's just pretend for a second we have the technology, we can map the connectome. So how do we actually do it? How do you get that massive 2.5 petabyte file out of someone's head and onto a server? Well, theory suggests there are two main ways to go about it.
Okay, so method 1 is, well, it's pretty brutal. It's called destructive scanning. To get the detail they need, they'd have to basically freeze your brain, slice it into impossibly thin layers, and scan each one. The catch? The original biological you does not make it through the process. Yeah. Then there's method 2, gradual replacement. This one's a bit more sci-fi. Billions of tiny nanobots would swarm into your brain and, one by one, replace each of your neurons with a synthetic one. The wild part is you'd be awake and conscious the whole time, just slowly turning into a machine from the inside out. So let's get into the heavy stuff. Section 4, the terrifying copy problem. Now, you might be thinking that second method, the gradual replacement, solves everything, right? You stay conscious, so you survive, problem solved. Well, not so fast, because whether you do it all at once or bit by bit, you run headfirst into a massive philosophical wall. A paradox that technology, no matter how good it gets, just can't fix. Let's boil it down to something we all understand. Keyboard shortcuts. When you hit Ctrl+C, you copy a file, right? You get a perfect duplicate, but the original is still there, untouched. But when you hit Ctrl+X, you cut the file. The original is gone from its first location and moved somewhere else. So the billion-dollar question is, which one is mind uploading? Is it a copy or is it a move? And this leads to the most chilling question of all. If we go ahead and upload your mind, who is the person still sitting in the chair? Imagine this. The process is a success. A perfect digital copy of you wakes up in the machine, full of your memories, thinking it worked. But what about you? The original you, the one made of meat. You're still in the scanner. And from your point of view, nothing has happened. You're just you. And you're about to be, well, deleted. This whole mess is a famous thought experiment, actually. It's called the Teleportation Paradox. If you create a perfect copy of yourself somewhere else and then destroy the original, did you actually travel or did you just die? If mind uploading is just a copy-paste job, then you're not getting immortality. You're just dying and leaving behind a digital ghost that thinks it's you and gets to live forever. Okay, wow, that's a lot of existential dread. So let's put a pin in that for a second. Let's just say you're cool with it. A copy of you gets to live on. Great. What would life actually be like for that copy inside the machine? Well, the upsides are just mind-bending. Seriously. You could think 1,000,000 times faster than you do now. You could live 1,000 subjective years in a single afternoon. Mess up a conversation, just reload from a save point. You could literally pause your own consciousness, back up your mind. It's like gaining godlike powers. But every utopia has a dark side. If your mind is just software, well, it has to run on someone's hardware, right? So who owns the server? What happens if your mind gets hacked or your memories get edited? What if you could be deleted with a single keystroke? Imagine having to pay a monthly subscription just to continue existing. In a world like that, you don't really have rights. You just have permissions. Okay, so after all of that, yeah, it's pretty easy to see mind uploading as this horrifying trap. But hold on. There's another way to think about this whole problem, a much more profound way, and it might just be the key to solving the paradox. And this potential solution comes from a super old philosophical puzzle you might have heard of, the ship of Theseus. The idea is simple. Imagine you have a wooden ship. Over the years, as planks rot, you replace them one by one, until eventually not a single one of the original planks remains. The question is it still the same ship? Most people would say yes, it is. Because the identity of the ship wasn't in the stuff, the individual planks. It was in the pattern, the design, the structure. So what if the same is true for us? Maybe you aren't the specific atoms you're made of. Maybe you are the pattern. And here's the wild part. If you think about it, your body is already doing this. Your cells are constantly dying and being replaced. The actual atoms that make you up today are almost completely different from the ones that made you up 7 or 10 years ago. In a way, we're all technically uploading ourselves into new biological hardware every single day. The only thing that really lasts is the pattern. So that leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. Maybe worrying about whether the original you survives is missing the point. If your identity, if what makes you you, is really the pattern, then making sure that pattern continues is all that matters. It doesn't matter if it's running on meat or on silicon. So maybe it's not about personal survival. Maybe it's about the story of you continuing on. In the end, what do you think is the thing that truly matters?